Welcome to ELF Center 1 for Snow Tracks and Traces for our January session of ELF.
All right, hello. This is Center 1 Snowflake Designs. In this center, you're going to discuss the designs of snowflakes and have students think about what causes those designs, and then you're going to try to reproduce some of your own six-sided snowflakes. Important things to know as a volunteer that you will need to bring in or Xerox and then cut ahead of time paper squares. You actually, and fold ahead of time, I meant, not cut. That will have the different snowflake designs, which I will talk about in a little bit. And you will, if you want to put glitter glue on these, you can. That's an option. It's listed in the outline, so that's up to you. All right. So in this bin, we have a whole bunch of books that have beautiful pictures of snowflakes in them that can be used to start your discussion about what do snowflakes look like and how are they made. There is also a really great story. It probably would take you too long to read the whole story, but for your own knowledge, you might read it ahead of time. The story of snow, it goes into detail about how snow begins with a speck, and that speck can be salt or pollen or dirt or bacteria even. And then it discusses how that speck becomes the center of a snow crystal and how it keeps growing. And it further discusses the conditions under what kind of different snowflakes will grow. If there's a lot of humidity, then certain things happen, and if there's less humidity, then there's less dendrites to the snowflake. There are some. Let's see. There are some great examples, three-dimensional examples in this center. They are fragile. A capped column snowflake, a hexagonal column snowflake, and a needle model. All good to use and visualize. Pass them around the students as long as they're careful with them. But again, they are pretty fragile. So you want to talk about how snowflakes form. They form at 32 degrees, and they form in clouds. They're water vapor freezing around dust or salt specks like we just discussed, and they all start out as a hexagon shape, which is a lot different than what we've all gone around folding paper and just cutting out snowflakes and out of a piece of paper that ends up with 8 or 12 different pieces. Hexagons are the basic shape of a snowflake. In your outline, it talks about that snow crystal shapes are determined by the temperature and humidity of the air in which snowflakes form, through which they fall. Very cold air has very little moisture content, so the rate of the crystal growth is slow, which leads to small, simple shapes like, they don't have, let's see, oh, there we go, like these simple prism hexagons. And then, by contrast, air with higher temperature and humidity will permit quicker crystal growth, and that results in more complex snowflakes, such as the one on the cover of this lovely book. This, again, I'll refer back to this book because when I read it, it had all kinds of great information I would use as a resource ahead of time to read through, and then you could discuss it and pull out the pages, label the pages that you think will help in your discussion of how snowflakes form and all the different intricacies that go with that. Other important things to talk about would include the ridges that are the thicker parts of the crystal, the grooves where the segments weld together, and the cavities, which are the holes. To help you with all your discussion about how snowflakes form, there are various, as usual, handouts. There are 4 on the precipitation cycle. And so this one is about how snow forms. This one is about how sleet forms and hail and freezing rain. Those are all handy in talking about the different weather conditions that are necessary for the formation of those weather phenomena. There's also a discussion about how a picture that can go with your discussion. Talking about how freezing rain, sleet, frost, hail, and snow. It talks about why it's so quiet when it snows. It's because there's air trapped in snow, and so that traps the sound. There are handouts called Icy Acts that can help you talk about how the different weather conditions and how they form. And then there is an activity called Hidden Images. And in this activity, students are asked to look at these snowflakes and try to pick out images they might see inside. So for instance, as I'm looking, there's birds in that one. I don't know if that's a frog or a rabbit, but there's something there. So, so that's a fun activity just to get them to make some more observations. And here we go. And we have a snowflake zoo, different animals made into snowflakes.
There's some lizards for you.
There you go.
Fascinating.
All right. In addition, when you're doing your classifying, there's a whole packet full of how we classify snowflakes, snow crystals, with the overall grid and then one by one different names and of the crystal types and pictures and illustrations. So a plethora of resources to help you discuss the formation of snow crystals and their classification and all the cool science information that goes with that. So after you spend time discussing how snowflakes form, you're going to make some of your own. And we have laminated in there will be examples of what hopefully their final products will look like. And you're going to have students choose just one, not all 6 of these to do. And and you might want to think about that per grade level.
Right, those are pretty complex, the ones we just showed you on the black paper. So even in those, there's more complex ones, and so maybe the younger grades, you wouldn't want to do that at all, or you'd want to pick the simpler ones.
Right, so for the younger grades, we've included some coffee filters in here, and the coffee filters you can take, so you've got your whole coffee filter. If you fold it in half once, and then kind of fold it into
And then in thirds.
pie shapes into thirds, so then you'll end up with your 6 sides, and then you can cut a snowflake of your own design.
And again, whichever snowflakes you do, have the children put their names on somehow and make a pile of them and then give them to the teacher at the end of your ELF session for them to send home on Friday.
So there you go.
Oh, hold it up so that contrast.
Oh,
Oh, that's
There we go.
fantastic.
So there's a really easy way for small hands to get something out of this activity as well. The duck is pretty simple to do. And they get more complicated from there. I will really quick show you the basics of folding this. I would highly recommend you practice before. So you're going to start out with your flat piece of paper. And on all of these will be Xerox the dotted line. So fold it in half on that dotted line, which is not going to be in half. There'll be some left over. And then there should be kind of another dotted edge. And fold it in half again that way. And then you're going to take and fold it over just so that where the Xerox shape is,
Where the animal imprint kind of
animal
is.
imprint is your crease. And then this leftover piece gets folded backwards in a really obscure thirds kind of manner. And then you could just cut, so if you cut this top part off, then you can see how your snowflake
Then you cut out the animal.
cut all of these lines.
Yep, and there's a hole punch for the eyes.
Right. So even just in cutting that little part off, you can see how this will come out. It even already looks more snowflake-ish than my 8.5 paper started. So that is the quick lowdown on the snowflake. Again, I recommend practicing this before. In the outline, it recommends for sure folding them for the younger grades. If you do them, this folding process will be really difficult. And the outline even recommends folding them for all the grades, because that way you can spend a lot of time discussing the intricacies of snow, and this can kind of just be the final piece of it. This is the only center that focuses specifically on snow and snow crystal formation, so spending time on that will be important too.
Make sure with the snowflakes that you use the PTA code for making copies, and that is 19540. Again, this is something you should do ahead of time and have these printed and folded as best you can, probably for all grades.
That's it.
I think that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
if you've got any questions, email us at, mitchellelf@gmail.com.
Thanks.
Yay.